Okay, a few little hacks for you to improve your endurance. Now, if you've been running for a certain amount of time and you've been doing some great 5Ks, some great 10Ks, maybe you've moved up to the half marathon, and you also do a full-time job at the same time, it's often difficult to move up to the marathon, or you often think it's difficult to move up to the marathon because it's going to involve higher volume, so more mileage every week, and it's also going to involve a longer long run and a gradually longer long run over weeks in that 3-month schedule, 12-week to 10 to 12-week schedule in order to run a marathon. But there are ways you can kind of hack that in order to get in a place where you're fit enough and strong enough in order to start that three-month program. And the ways that I've done it before in terms of ultra running or marathon running, in order to put myself in a really good place where whatever time you're aiming for, whether it's 2 hour 20, 2 hour 40, 3 hours, 3 hour 30, 4 hours, 5 hours, it doesn't matter. A great way, or a couple of great ways you can put yourself in a good position in order to start that training is basically to be out there. Whatever you're doing, it is to be out there hiking or walk running for the period of time, or gradually building up to the period of time that you want to run a marathon for. So if you're trying to run a 3 hour 30 marathon and you've done a half marathon before and it's about that half hour, it's about that kind of half of that time, about 1:45, and you think that could be your marathon goal if you just train towards it, and if you just you've got the speed endurance, you just need to add the endurance and then you're going to be there or thereabouts. Getting out there and hiking's brilliant for building endurance, being out there for a certain amount of time. Take water with you, obviously, take sport drink if you need it, but hike and just be out there up and down mountains and getting the legs prepared. Even though you're walking, even though you're hiking, it's still getting out there for long periods of time. It's still tapping into energy resources. You're probably going to tap more into your fat reserves. So you're going to become more efficient at tapping into your fat reserves rather than glycogen supply. So your glycogen supply can be left for that last third of the marathon. And it's always that last maybe 10 miles for some people, that last 6 miles for some people, that last 10K. It's always round figures, but it's often that last quarter or last third of a marathon that really hits people hard because they're just not used to it. So that's the first thing. Get out there and hike. Be out there for 2 hours to begin with. An hour and a half walking is really, really simple. Depending on the terrain, you can quite easily add incremental kind of 15 minutes, half an hour. So be out there for 2 hours, 2 hours 15, 2 hours 30. Before you know it, you can be out there for 4 hours and it doesn't seem like anything because you're just hiking, and it can be a social activity. You can be doing it with your friends, with your partner. It can be a really simple way for you to gradually build up. And then once you start to add in the runs and they get gradually further and further and more time on the feet running, it's going to feel easier because you've been able to do that hiking over difficult terrain. And even if you don't have difficult terrain on your doorstep and it's just a case of going out there and walking, you just go out for a walk, you talk about something, and you're able to just kind of be out there on the feet, it's actually a really easy conversion to then put that into running. And especially when you're kind of initially running really, really slowly, and speed will come, it's a nice easy transition. So that's the first way. And hiking, I'd always suggest to do that, because even when you get to the point where you're training for an ultra marathon run, if you think of a good 100k runner, and they're going to be running like 6:20, 6:30 for 100k, how often are they actually going out and running 6 hours? Not very much at all. Maybe 2, 3, 4 times in a year if they're racing, and it's only ever in a race. They're not going to be going out there and running. You might get the odd 100-miler runner or racer that's kind of training for 6, 7, 8 hours, and they're going to be doing it really slow. It's going to be a mixture of running and hiking. They're not often doing it, but It's a nice, easy transition from hiking to running, and therefore then to training, and then to getting that specific training towards the marathon. Second way is cycling. For me, cycling has always been a great way that I can get out on the bike. I can do 2 hours easy, no problem at all. 3 hours, and then 4 hours, and then 5 hours, and then 6 hours, and there's a great conversion. What I would say with cycling is, if you can, you get on your own road bike or mountain bike and get a bike fit done by somebody, not just a cycle fit, but a bicycle fit where they know that you're preparing for running. So they'll put you in a position on the bike that the majority of the work is coming from your glutes naturally, as it would be from cycling as well, but it's in a running position. And if you go and see a triathlete bike fit, it's much easier for them to put you in a position where the cleats are in the right position, the saddle's in the right position, that you can be pushing down on the pedals at very high cadence, which is super important. So you're basically working on the heart, the lungs, the blood, in order to improve that, ready to convert. And again, if you're marathon running, if you're ultra running, that's a great way to build up your endurance on the bike, and there's nice easy switch then to running. So if you can be on the bike for 3, 4, 5 hours, it's then no problem for you to be running 2-3 hours, which is what you need for the marathon. And also, if you can continue to keep that cross training, that bike in your training, I always still to this day I use it, but I always, in my best races, I've always used that as like a second long run in a week, where if I can get out there and do 4, 5, 6 hours, it's a great long run. It's emulating a great long run for me to be able to run fast for 6 hours or 7 hours or whatever it is, in order to run 100k fast. So really, really useful tool again. Now the other 3 things I would say, that if you're kind of you're getting good at the shorter distances, 5k, 10k, maybe a half marathon, but it just seems tiring, or it just seems that there's a missing link in order for you to move up to a marathon. Slow down on your longer runs. Just as simple as that. Slow down, because speed will come. You just need to be patient with it. So slow down, bring the heart rate down, and be able to go further. And that's the key, being able to go further. Even if you're going super slow, doesn't matter about distance, it matters about time on your feet. So try to aim for an hour. If you've been training for 10Ks and your longest run has been, for instance, 8 miles, that's a long run for a 10k run, and to be able to race 10k and be able to run as fast as you can 10k. But when it comes to the marathon, you're going to be running 3 times 8 miles plus a bit more, plus 2 miles, to be able to run 26 miles or 42k as quickly as you can and comfortably as you can, so you're in control of it. And you're in control of it in that first part, you're holding back because you know the hard stuff is to come. That middle part, which is kind of like a dead zone for people, and then not just holding on in the last third, but being in control of that last third, so your form is still there. So slow down on the long run, and then focus on getting out there for an hour. Doesn't matter how far you go, but get out there for an hour. And I guarantee that over the weeks, as you kind of get naturally, as your metabolic system becomes more efficient, you're going to be able to go out there and you're going to be able to run further for the hour. So then increase that to an hour 10, increase it to an hour 20, an hour 30. Before you know it, if you can put together a lot of runs that are an hour 30, an hour 45, then 2 hours, you don't need to run 2 hours that many times. You're starting to get into marathon condition, and then you can start that 3 month specific training plan, where you've got 10 weeks specific training, marathon training, 10 long runs, 10 interval sessions, and then a kind of 10 to 14 day taper. You're there or thereabouts, ready to start. So that's a great way. The second thing I'd say on this 3 part is, think about how you're running over the ground. If you're running as fast as you can for 5k, the chances are that you can run a fast 5k and not have the best style. What you need to think about as a marathon runner is think of your body like a car. if for whatever reason, if you're driving an old car and the what's it called, the steering, the camber is off some way, and for whatever reason you notice that one of your tires is wearing down faster than the others, that's a telltale sign that there's something wrong with the car. The alignment is off on the wheels, which is only a small problem for the tire. You just fix the tire and you think that problem's fixed, but it's not. There's an underlying problem in the car that needs fixing. It's exactly the same with your running. Now you might be kind of like, a lot of runner twists from side to side. Again, completely fine for a 5K. Not optimal, but completely fine. You can get away with it. So you're twisting your torso from side to side, which for 15 to 25 to 30 minutes is absolutely no problem. Once you start regularly running an hour and a half in training runs, and then 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours for a marathon, that is going to come exhausted. It's going to make you exhausted. So you need to kind of stiffen up your upper body. You need to work on your core in order to make your style a little bit kind of more straight, so that your arms are kind of helping you move forward as fast as you possibly can. And again, I'll always say it, your toes, ankles, knees and hips are all aligned and you're landing mid-foot. It's a really simple way and a really simple thing to work on when you're running easy or when you're running long. If you're just running around there, and often I'll get the kind of runners who are trying to move up to the marathon or ultra marathon saying they just don't like the long run because they're out there on their own for whatever. Join a group, first of all, but second of all, that's a great time for you to work on your running. So make sure your toes, ankles, knees and hips are aligned and your arms are actually helping you move forward, and the way that your body is shaped, so you're kind of like, you're like this moving forward, so that naturally your footfall is in front of you and you're landing mid-foot, so that your feet are able to take that. If you're constantly landing on your heels, it's going to make a shock through your body. If you're landing on your toes, which you can get away with in the 5K because it's only 15 to 30 minutes, you're not going to be able to do that for the marathon. Whether you're running 5 hours or whether you're running 2 hours and 4 minutes, like Haile Gebrselassie. Haile Gebrselassie wasn't able to convert from 10K to marathon on his toes. He needed to change his form, and he had lots of Achilles problems because it's just too much pressure on the calf and the Achilles to be running that far. To get it right. And then what you need to think of, if you want to go further, if you want to build endurance, is your speed, the top end speed that you have, like building your engine. So building your top end speed, your VO2 max, your VO2 max intervals, your lactate threshold intervals, building that speed and being able to work to a point where your marathon pace is definitely in your second gear, or it's definitely down there, so that you kind of feel controlled and comfortable, especially for the first third, first half, ideally the first 2/3, that you're fully in control of that. It's really important at building that speed and keeping on top of that speed, so that marathon pace doesn't become quick for you. It becomes all in control. So in actual fact, that moving that endurance and stamina forward, still keep in touch with the speed, still keep doing those speed workouts, because naturally your biomechanics, the way that you move over the ground, everything will be improved for those longer distances as well. So keep on top of that. So there we've got like cross training, you've got hiking, start hiking first. Like get out there on the weekends, go and see something beautiful. Like wherever you are in the world, chances are that within half an hour to an hour drive, you've got something beautiful, even if you live in a big city. Crazy, like from Manchester, you've got like any direction you travel, half an hour to an hour, you've got something beautiful that you can go and visit, like North Wales, Peak District, Lake District, and then South Cheshire is absolutely gorgeous, yeah? Anywhere in the world, you've got something pretty much on your doorstep that you can go and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours walking and have a really good time. And it's a great way to spend with the family or with your partner or with your friends. Cycling, great way to build, to get better at that long run, to kind of build endurance, to get the heart and lungs at low intensity working without putting too much pressure on the muscles. Again, the same with hiking. Keep the cadence high on the bike. And then think of how you're running for your long run. So if you're gradually building up your long run, you're going from 8 miles to 10 miles to 12 miles to 14 miles and upwards like that. Just slow down. Keep your heart rate low so that you can gradually progress that long run without it taking too much out of your body, without it taking too much out of the weekly plan, without it making you too fatigued, so that you can move forward with that long run. And again, with the way that you run, the longer you're going to run, the longer you're going to race. If you're going to move up to the marathon, the way that you run is super important. So be thinking about the arms. What are your arms doing? They're not twisting your body from side to side. Both arms are pretty mirror. If you need to run in front of a mirror on the treadmill, think about doing that. It's really useful. Think about filming the way that you run and looking at your style. The way that you run is the way that you run, but you can over time, if you focus, you can over time make your style better. That's really important. And then again, toes, ankles, knees, hips aligned and be landing mid-foot. Again, you can focus on that and get better. And then again, don't neglect the speed work just because you think you're running long. Speed work is going to help. Your top end speed is going to help you with your engine. It's going to help you with your long distance endurance stamina. All those things combined is going to make you a great marathon runner.